I'm going to talk about something very controversial today. Could the Polytechnic and Dawson College shootings have been, avoided here in Canada? Well, if you check out my video, Handguns in Canada for Self-Defense, post it to your Facebook and all that good stuff, I am trying to create awareness on this issue of self-defense in Canada. And one of the best things I think is a firearm. So what happened there was, okay, a madman basically snapped, walked into a school or a college, Polytechnic in Montreal, and he shot 14 women, and this is back in 89 or 90 or something like that. I remember hearing about it, and I was just like, what would possess something to do? Like, there is no answer why he did it. I mean, crazy's crazy, right? Trying to figure out the rationality of a crazy man will drive you insane. But could it have been avoided? Okay, because at the time we didn't have many gun laws that pertain to anything like that. So the guy took a Ruger Mini 14 and he went and he shot XYZ amount of people, and 14 women died. Okay, were murdered, and these sound like very nice girls too, so young, lives ahead of them. Just sad, very, just despairingly tragic. And the more I give thought to it, it's not something that's always saddled on my mind. Like most people, you hear it on the news and then you forget about it a week later, as horrible as that might sound, but that's how life goes on. But then the more you start thinking about it, okay, well, could it have been avoided? And I think the answer is maybe. Not a yes, not a definite, but a maybe. How could it have been avoided? Well, this is where you're probably going to expect me to say we need to ban all guns. Absolutely not. This is where I say the opposite. We need to be able to carry guns for self-defense. And I agree, there is no guarantee that a firearm will save your life. But let's look at the statistical data we have. In Canada, we don't have much, because we can't carry guns for self-defense. In fact, although we have a common law right to self-defense, and our Constitution says we have the necessary force or whatever, it's all up into interpretation. And the problem with that is it's up to the jury, judge, and prosecutioner to decide whether you use excessive force or necessary force, which we tend to have very left-wing, liberal-type, anti-self-defense judges, so that's not good for us. Here's the deal: in the United States, of their murder rate of something like 30,000 to 36,000 people, I think 11 to 14,000 of them on average are with firearms. That's a lot, right? But then 2.5 to 3 million times a year, they defend their lives in the United States with a firearm. So it works out to you're about 4 times more likely to use a firearm to deter a crime than to actually commit a crime. So again, doesn't that come down to personal choice and human intent? Okay, so 1 in every 1,000 is a shooting, 1 in every 8,000 is a fatality, and about 1 every million gun owners, so rudely interrupted, even they agree with me, does something dumb. So 1 in every million gun owners, of the millions and millions of gun owners in the United States, does something stupid with it. So it just proves that most people don't shoot. Just showing the gun is enough to scare the attacker away. When they do shoot, they usually fire warning shots, and only in the desperate situation do they, such as like Polytechnic, where they would actually have to use a firearm and do the deed. Not that they want to, but it's like an extinguisher. Have it, not need it not have it. Just because you own a fire extinguisher doesn't mean you want your house to burn down. But if it should catch on fire, you definitely want to be able to put it out. And you also need to know how to use it. So that's the way most firearms owners in the States, I think, look at their ownership for right to carry. Not that they're just gun-toting, but... And the hysteria here of, well, people will be cutting people off on the freeway and they'll be shooting at each other. This does happen, but again, when we look at the statistic, it's not the people that legally take the training and get the background checks and have the legal firearms that go out and do that. In fact, if you were carrying a firearm, pulling out a firearm, okay, on another person, and you can ask a police officer if this is a situation he ever wants to be into, where if I pull out my firearm, okay, and he pulls out his firearm, that could escalate pretty bad. You follow me here. So then what's going to happen? They don't want to be nobody wants to be in this situation. Why? Because nobody wants to get shot, right? But here's the deal. Unless you necessarily have to, you're not going to pull that firearm out. Why? Because you just don't know if the other guy's carrying or not. And if he is, you have no choice. You have to pull it out. So the point is that you're only going to do it if you necessarily have to. Otherwise, you avoid it at all cost. Why? Because you don't want it to get to that. So, statistically speaking, more guns, less crime. In fact, guns save more lives in the United States than they do anywhere else. And wherever you show, there's no place on the planet where they've had a gun ban or restricted gun laws where the crime has actually went down. It either stays the same or shoots up like a rocket. And where people have more relaxed gun laws and more relaxed right to defense privileges, crime drops like a rock, and pretty much just goes over the cliff. Don't believe me? Look it up. I always say, do your due diligence because it's in your own best interest. Getting back to polytechnic, if one of those 14 women would have had a firearm on them for self-defense, could they have made a difference? Unfortunately, we'll never know. So what did happen here in Canada? Well, we basically, 1995, they came up with the new Canadian Firearms Act, which there's a whole bunch of things on there that I just, they're ridiculous. But did it work? Did any of it work? Well, let's fast forward a couple of years ago. Dawson College in Montreal. It's in Montreal or around Montreal anyway. Madman walked in and shot XYZ amount of people. And I think it's 23 people were shot, one died. A girl named Anastasia. And they made a Bill C9, or Law 9 here in Quebec, which I don't think actually does anything other than a tax grab for the Anastasia's law. I'm not, and for those violence against women is, in fact, for most women out there that are anti-gun, that's the problem. Is like you're brainwashed into believing that a firearm, if you get rid of them, which you cannot do, it's impossible to do. The bad people will never do it, and the crazies will never do it. That you shouldn't have the right to carry it, but it's in your own best interest to have the right to carry. So again, did our reactionary laws do anything to prevent this? No, they didn't. Madman still walked in and shot just as many people. And he did it in a gun-free zone. So the Americans have done the homework for Canada, and how we're ignoring this, just saying, well, we'll be too American if we carry guns here in Canada. Well, no, it's not about, that issue, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's about the right to self-defense and the possibility of when the police can't get here in time, which they know they can't get there in time. They're reactionary. They solve crimes. They don't prevent crimes as much unless they're patrolling the street and just happen to be in your vicinity. But bad guys typically don't do bad things in front of police officers. I mean, when was the last time you heard of a police officer getting mugged? They got training and education and a firearm. So, if it works for the men, it'll work for everybody. So, me, it's just a training and educational thing and background check, maybe, if you want to do that. A skills thing, yeah, I think if you have the right to carry, you have to maintain the skills. I mean, police officers have to maintain a skill. So I say, think of a deputized citizen like an off-duty police officer, but with a little bit less, because they're not collecting a paycheck and they're not, walking around with a badge. They're just walking around with a tool that could keep distance between them and their attacker, and possibly prevent atrocities like, Polytechnic and Dawson College happening again. No guarantees, but I think the odds are heavily in the favor. So, rate, subscribe, put this on your Facebook. I know it's controversial, but if we don't talk about it, nothing changes. And as far as our gun laws are concerned, how, do they work, do they not? Well, I think Einstein summed it up best. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So we've tried gun control, it doesn't work. I think we need to, learn from the Americans. They've done the homework for us. So anyway, don't believe me, look into it yourself. Take care. Okay, I'm going to talk about something very controversial today. Could the Polytechnic and Dawson College shootings have been, avoided here in Canada? Well, if you check out my video, Handguns in Canada for Self-Defense, post it to your Facebook and all that good stuff, I am trying to create awareness on this issue of self-defense in Canada. And one of the best things, I think, is a firearm. So what happened there was, okay, a madman basically snapped, walked into a school or a college, Polytechnic in Montreal, and he shot 14 women, and this is back in the, 89 or 90 or something like that. I remember hearing about it, and I was just like, what would possess something to do? Like, there is no answer why he did it. Crazy's crazy, right? Trying to figure out the rationality of a crazy man will drive you insane. But could it have been avoided? Okay, because at the time we didn't have many gun laws that pertain to anything like that. So the guy took a Ruger Mini 14 and he went and he shot XYZ amount of people, and 14 women died. Okay, were murdered.